Yes, indeed. 3 intrepid data miners are on their way to help you get the information you need to meet these demands. I want you to meet these 3 people. First there's Bob, and then there's Bob, and finally there's Dick. Bob, and Dick. World travelers, soldiers of fortune, raconteurs, and tellers of tall tales. However, they are not here to dig into CompuStat, although they probably could if they wanted to. Rather, they are here to point you to a mountain of data. That mountain is Mount EDGAR. What, you ask, is Mount EDGAR? Well, Mount EDGAR is a compendium of all filings made to the Securities Exchange Commission. There are literally dozens of different forms that are filed by publicly traded corporations, including annual reports, quarterly reports, notification of 5% ownership of a firm, proxy statements, interim reports, employee stock purchases, and many, many, many more. Well, so what, you say? What good is it? Well, there are currently 9,700 firms in the SEC database. And the data that is available is complete for all entities required to file since 2007. Now, this is the same data that we would get if we had a subscription to CompuStat. But there are no users fees and there's no copyright. Well, all right, so if it's so great, how come not everyone isn't already using it? Well, there are some drawbacks to Mount EDGAR. One is there are no free access programs to get the data from EDGAR in bulk. There are commercial programs that can be either purchased or licensed, but those programs typically cost about $2,000 per year per user. Another drawback is that the data is not automatically updated when firms file changes to their original reports. So if a firm files a 10K annual statement and then later restates their financial results for that particular reporting period, there are 2 forms, but there is no automatic compilation of the 2 forms together. Third, the data is not tested for reasonableness. This is a problem in some cases where companies report, but in detail is not exactly what they say they're reporting. And so using EDGAR does require that and researchers spend a bit of attention to validating the information that's being downloaded. And then finally, there are tremendous blocks of non-formatted text. This text includes such things as the footnotes to the financial statements, statements of policy, the management's discussion of the operations and the prospects for the firm. And those are not in any specific organized, formatted form that makes them easy to use. And therefore, using EDGAR data means that the user must be able to parse this non-formatted text to make it into usable information. And then finally, the text that is formatted in the EDGAR statements, such things as gross sales, cost of goods sold, net income, all the various elements of the financial statements, they are in a known format, but that format is a markup language known as XBRL. XBRL is like an ogre that guards Mount Edgar. And like many of the mythological creatures, he will respond to 3 wishes. You may go into the government-supported EDGAR Access site, and you can use the tools there to get information for firms, one firm at a time. Now remember, I said there's 9,700 firms. So pulling down a specific set of information for any one or for a set of firms would be a tremendously time-consuming task. So XBRL is the gatekeeper. He'll answer us one at a time, but he will not give us bulk results. So how are we going to address this? Well, we're going to sick that great Python on him. We're going to pour Java down his throat. We're going to dunk him in C, and we're going to squeeze massive amounts of data out of EDGAR automatically, and we're going to get it in a form that is readable by the spreadsheet program such as Excel, which means that it can easily be ported into statistics programs such as SAS or XPSS. How, you ask, are we going to accomplish this? Well, this is what we plan to do. Starting in August, we will familiarize the participants who will be working on this project with both XBRL, what it is, how to use it, what we have to do with it, and with EDGAR. What is EDGAR? What's in EDGAR? What do we have to do to download the data from EDGAR? Then secondly, as a group, we will decide among ourselves what is the appropriate program for this project. I've mentioned Python and Java and C, but of course there are many programming languages available to us, including Visual Basic, Perl scripting language, C++, any number of other languages. The one that we will choose, we'll choose primarily because of its ability to handle XML and XBRL marked up data. Secondly, of course, we will look for a programming language with which we are already proficient. The third step in our project will be to develop a description of what the user face should look like. We expect to provide these programs to any interested faculty in the university. Most of our faculty have no interest in doing computer programming, and they certainly do not want to get into the details of learning to use a scripting language or object-oriented language. And therefore, we need to develop a user interface that is easy to use and intuitive so that the researchers can get to the data and not be blocked by the specifics of the code. Once we've decided what that user interface is going to look like, then we're going to develop pseudocode. We'll do flowchart, scripting, whatever is appropriate at the time that we're doing it. And the purpose, of course, of the pseudocode is to create an outline of what the project's going to be and to allow us to assign subsets of the project to students and interested faculty so that we can work on this project in a parallel manner and not have to go one step at a time front to end. Rather, by defining what the program is supposed to be, different portions of the program can be written simultaneously. We would expect to have the pseudocode, the first 4 steps completed by Thanksgiving of 2015. Then, starting after fall break, would be the writing and testing of the code itself. Once a set of working programs are in place, then the next step will be to enlist beta testers from TAMUSA faculty. Yes, that's you. We're going to come and ask you to try to use this thing we've done. And then, depending upon your comments, we will go back and remove any mistakes that we've made in the programming process, but also address issues that the beta test users have brought to our attention. Finally, we will finish and distribute the program to interested faculty and students, and at least a working beta version of this program should be ready and finished by the end of May of 2016. Who's going to be involved in this? Well, initially, of course, there are 3 faculty members as required. That's the Bob, and Dick. And this project will also involve numerous students, primarily students in computer science. These students, under the direction of faculty, will develop the programs to make this data easily available to interested users. The project may also, if desired, be shared with other colleges and universities. Although the project is currently planned to utilize open source materials, which they, of course, cannot be copyrighted because the copyright has already been assigned to the public domain. However, anything that is developed within this project that is not specifically taken from open source materials, those items are certainly eligible for copyright. And thus, at some point, depending upon the success of the project, a decision can be made whether to share the program for the goodwill that would accumulate to the school if we were to provide such a thing, or charge a license fee and end up raising some money for the College of Business. Why do all this? Well, the simple fact is research publications will flow from this project. The very first paper is going to be a paper aimed at the teaching of programming, an andragogy paper that details the process of involving students in a live development project and would, of course, include vignettes of the problems encountered and the manner in which those problems were handled. Secondly, there's any number of empirical research projects in accounting, economics, and finance that investigate firm-specific data. And in fact, the genesis of this project is a research effort being done by graduate students in the Master Professional Accountancy program. And they are using EDGAR data to specifically look at the incidence, the frequency of decision of choice of specific accounting depreciation methods, and then to use a regressive analysis to try to determine what are the firm characteristics that lead to specific choice of depreciation method. Thirdly, there should be one or more computer science papers detailing the design, development, and use of the resulting programs. And fourth, there can be papers put into the accounting research journals describing the programs that we've developed and explaining their use and how other researchers can utilize the techniques that we are developing for this project. Thank you for your time and attention to this project. I want to point out this presentation is a Bob, and Dick production. No actual pythons were harmed in its making. Good day.